All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. And the collapse is already here. All right, and before we play this clip, I just want to read this headline here. This is from the Wall Street Journal. All right, the headline, it reads, it says, the middle class vibe has shifted from secure to squeezed. Okay, I got to get that at Sirach 5 and 7. All right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 5, verse 7, Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 7, and it reads, it says, make no tearing to turn to the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed, and perish in the day of vengeance. Okay, so we warned you in the spirit that the squeeze was going to get harder. Okay, people are pinching pennies. They're barely surviving. All right, they just have their heads right above water. Okay, and we know that the goal is to what? To get rid of the so-called middle class. Okay, people are strapped. Okay, you know, they're barely, surviving here in America, man. Okay, so this picture to the right, you know, is perfect, you know, because this is how, you know, your average American is living right now. Okay, so we'll come back to that, but again, you know, this I was thinking about it earlier, right? Let me pull this up. You know, these prophecies are likened unto a spiritual domino effect, right? Just reading the definition here, it says the domino effect refers to a situation where one event triggers a series of related events, okay? Because look, we have, you know, a police state, martial law, we have, which we'll get this too, all right? We have a labor crisis here in America, all right? People are not doing the jobs on the farms. They're not handling the agriculture, which is going to lead to more famines, more supply chain shortages because of the deportations. People are not working those jobs, all right? So all of these problems continue to mount up, okay? But that's that spiritual domino effect, right? Refers to a situation where one event triggers a series of related events, similar to a line of falling dominoes. This cumulative effect can occur in various contexts, such as economics, politics, or personal actions, all right? So it's all going to tie into the overthrow of this American society as we see it now, right? So again, the collapse is here.
More and more people are sounding the alarm, and it's definitely a good thing that that's happening, but it's also terrifying that, I don't know, you see this kind of passive acceptance among the population of a lot of this stuff. So Ali Velshi is an MSNBC host, and he's about to lay out here in no uncertain terms that the collapse of democracy is already here. It's already here. It's not some theoretical thing coming in the future or the near future. No, it's here.
The collapse of democracy is a strange, almost surreal thing. It can be abstract and hard to recognize in the moment. At first, it just feels like politics. It's messy, it's noisy, it's frustrating, and sometimes a bit removed from one's day-to-day life. But then the guardrails that we've taken for granted begin to topple, one after another. A National Guard unit deployed to a city that never asked for it. Key parts of the nation's electoral process attacked as illegitimate. Rulings of federal judges shrugged off as optional. Neighbors disappeared into ICE vans. Critics and political opponents suddenly faced with criminal probes. The media behaving in ways designed not to trigger the ire of the ruling party. Each new abuse is justified as temporary, necessary, even an emergency. Until one day, it's not temporary at all. Until one day, the justifications stop altogether because once power is absolute, it no longer feels the need to explain itself. At best, each assault may seem like an outlier until the day you wake up and realize the system itself has become unrecognizable. Well, that's where we are, right now. It's not where we're headed, it's where we are. The tragedy of what's unfolding and the danger of what's ahead will be compounded if American citizens en masse, all of us, do not recognize this moment for what it is. Understandably, unless it touches you directly, it's easy to say sometimes to miss what's being taken away. We've been telling ourselves the courts will stop it. Congress will step in. Surely someone will draw the line. Yet one by one, those lines have already been crossed. Just look around. Last night, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker had to publicly rebuke President Trump's reported plan to send military troops into Illinois. Pritzker made clear Illinois has asked for no such help. Doesn't need that help. There's no emergency on the ground. His warning was blunt. Trump is, quote, attempting to manufacture a crisis, politicize Americans who serve in uniform, and continue abusing his power to distract from the pain he is causing working families, end quote. That is the governor of one of America's most populous states, sounding the alarm that the president of the United States is turning the nation's military into a domestic political weapon.
Yeah, that's the cruel king. Okay. Let's get that in Isaiah. All right, it's Isaiah 19:4. It says, "In the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord." That got to be Donald Trump, man. "And a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah of hosts." All right, so this is that fierce king that's ruling over the people. All right, going back to Trump and his administration. Okay, and I've been hearing through some videos that I caught on online that outside of the police state and the martial law that's being implemented right now, he's really, preparing the military, to quell, civil unrest, because once they crash this economy, all right, it's going to be sedition and unrest in the streets. So that's why they're already putting the military, the different types of police force and all of that in those strategic places, because they know eventually that all hell is going to break loose on these American streets. All right. So that's pretty heavy too. All right. But again, that inevitable situation is here. All right.
And he's right. This is not about public safety. It's about flexing power, teaching dissenters and political opponents a lesson, normalizing the use of troops against Americans. In the nation's capital, hundreds of federal troops now patrol the streets alongside ICE and DEA and FBI agents, ticketing residents for minor offenses like broken taillights. Federal troops policing petty crime on America's main street. Think about that. Crime may be statistically down, but intimidation is way up. The police state is here, and that's the whole point. D.C. restaurants and bars report business down by 1/3. What Trump is doing is designed to bleed blue cities dry economically. Meanwhile, red state governors are planning on sending hundreds more guard troops into the Capitol. Soldiers who, by the way, have no training in urban policing. Donald Trump is threatening to eliminate mail-in ballots and voting machines, the very infrastructure of elections, proudly parroting a line that Trump said Putin used with him that, quote, "You can't have an honest election with mail-in voting," end quote. Can you imagine quoting Vladimir Putin about free and fair elections? This, by the way, all as Homeland Security announces plans to hold election security funds hostage unless states accept Trump's new rules. Secret voter databases, citizenship checks on poll workers, and untested systems that most states can't implement in time. What Republicans label election security is the classic playbook of the strongmen. Tilt the playing field toward yourself and lock yourself into power. Doesn't stop in Washington, D.C. Across the country, Republican-controlled legislatures are dismantling the last avenues of direct democracy, citizen ballot initiatives. In Missouri, voters raised the minimum wage. Lawmakers gutted it. In Arkansas and Florida, new laws make it harder for grassroots petitions even to reach the ballot. Across the country, roughly 40 bills to restrict civilian initiatives have passed at least one legislative chamber this year, according to a review by the Associated Press. Most of these measures, the AP notes, are coming from Republican lawmakers in states where citizen petitions have been used to put abortion rights, marijuana legalization, or other progressive initiatives on the ballot. The message is clear. Even if voters pass something that Republicans don't like, Republicans in power will just rewrite the rules. This is not democracy. That is something called competitive authoritarianism. Elections in name, one-party rule in practice. And here lies the tragedy. Ultimate power in this country still belongs to the people. But every time we accept or tolerate one more red line being crossed, we normalize the next. Each violation, larger than the last, makes what came before feel almost normal. America's democracy has withstood civil war, depressions, attacks by foreign enemies on its soil, but it has never faced an assault on this scale. An internal demolition carried out not by outsiders or even by well-armed rebels, but by the holder of the highest office in the land. The question is not whether Trump meant it when he promised retribution on the campaign trail. He clearly did. The question is whether we are willing to really see what it means that he's carrying it out, and that his playbook is being shaped by America's enemies, strongmen who preside over brutal, illiberal regimes.
The cruel Lord is coming with corruption, all right, which that's going to be the fall of this place, all right? Isaiah 14 and 11, thy pomp, excuse me. Isaiah 14 and 11, thy pomp, which is the pride of these Edomites, the pride of America. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave. In the noise of thy vials, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee, all right? The worms going into what? The corrosion, the decay, all right, that's happening throughout society, okay? And again, the corruption that's going on, all right? That word for worm, maggot, worm, as cause and sign of decay, as we see by the looks of the society. It says, all indicate corruption, all right? All this corruption is going on. The martial law, the police state, okay? No more rights, all right? The Constitution is going to be pretty much null and void, man. All right? These different types of scandals that are being exposed, everything, man. It all ties into the fall, right? Let's finish it out here, and then we'll move on to some other points, right?
Thomas Jefferson saw this danger early in our history. In 1820, he wrote to Massachusetts politician W.C. Jarvis, rejecting the notion that courts should be the final arbiters of the Constitution. The true safeguard, Jefferson argued, rests with the people. Quote, I know no safe depository of the ultimate powers of society but the people themselves. And if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform their discretion by education. To inform their discretion by education.
That's exactly right. All that is exactly right. And the thing that's driving me crazy is, I don't know, how do people not see it? How is this not just a unanimous opinion across the board? And
yeah, I want to make a point too. Like you said, how come people are not seeing it? But the reality is this, that people, they refuse to see it, all right? And that Isaiah, 30, as we read earlier here, right? People refuse to deal with that reality. So that's why, as we see, that calamity is about to suddenly fall, all right? Bulging like the wall that bursts and falls. In an instant, it will collapse and come crashing down, all right? So the fact that people don't want to see it and refuse to see it and, want to, be stuck in, don't want to deal with reality, if you will, all right? This is what's about to happen, okay? That domino effect, man,
I mean, it's stuff like this that really spells it out for you super clearly. I don't understand how somebody could do the mental gymnastics to escape the inevitable conclusion about a comment like this from the president. Listen.
As you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him, freedom, freedom. He's a dictator, he's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense and I'm a smart person.
Quote, a lot of people are saying maybe we'd like a dictator. Are you getting it yet? Are you understanding it yet? How about when he signed that executive order to have Elon Musk oversee our elections, have Doge oversee our elections? You know, the people that cut pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels and got rid of routine food safety inspections, those guys. You want them to run the elections? How about when he tried to, or when they did, gerrymander Texas, and now they're about to do Florida as well. And Trump is openly saying, we need to pick up more seats, let's pick up more seats. Openly rigging the midterms. Are you not seeing it? Or how about the masked ICE agents rounding people up with no due process, no habeas corpus, sending them to God knows where? Why are they even covering their faces? Because they're committing crimes. Is that still not enough for you? Do you not see what this is? This just happened yesterday. Trump signs executive orders to end cashless bail in Washington and nationwide, task the Department of Defense with creating a special National Guard unit to address public disorder, and imposing a 1-year jail term for burning the American flag. That is wildly unconstitutional. There was a Supreme Court case in 1989 that said burning flags is free speech. It is political speech. It is allowed. Doesn't matter if you like it or not, it's allowed. Well, Trump just tried to ban it through an executive order. In theory, something like that would have to go through Congress anyway. But in this instance, even if that did get through Congress, it still wouldn't count because that's null and void because the Supreme Court already ruled on this and ruled you're doing the illegal thing. You're doing the unconstitutional thing. You can't lock somebody up for flag burning. You can't do it. You can't do it. But this is it clear yet? Is it clear to you yet? I don't think people have truly wrapped their minds around just how extreme this Republican Party is.
Yeah, so the point is, even a blind man can see that this shit is a wrap, right? I just want to go back to this article. All right, again, it says the middle class vibe has shifted from secure to squeezed. After months of tracking high income earners' positive economic outlook, America's middle income households appear to be losing confidence. All right, back in Isaiah 19 and was it verse 4? Right, bear with me. Yep, Isaiah 19 and verse 3. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. All right. See, people are fucking drowning, man. Okay. People are barely surviving in America right now. They're losing confidence in the system. They're losing confidence in the the president. All right. The politics, the government. All right. The outlook is grim. Okay, and this is everybody's going through it. As you watch the videos that are online, everybody complaining about the living conditions in America. All throughout TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, people living in their cars. You know, people are homeless. Right? The situation is only getting worse. All right. It says, and I want to jump down. It says the middle class, generally considered to include households making roughly $53,000 to $161,000 a year, is playing an outside role that in that waning optimism. After months of tracking high income earners, increasingly confident about the economy, households making between $50,000 and $100,000 made it an abrupt about face in June. They now more closely resemble low-income earners' gloomier views, according to surveys done by Morning Consult, a data intelligence firm. All right. Quote, there was a period of time briefly where the middle-income consumer looked like they were being dragged up by a wall. It's like that they looked like they were being dragged up by all that was going well in the world, said John Lear, chief economist of Morning Consult. Then things fell off a cliff. See, it says evidence of a squeezed middle class is mounting. Right? Evidence of a squeezed middle class is mounting. Several CEOs across the dining, retail, fashion, and airline industries have said their middle class consumers or customers are increasingly strapped. See? Even as high earners keep on buying, right? Let's go down. Okay. It says here, It says Walmart, which continues to dominate by offering deals to pinch consumers, said middle and low income shoppers are re-inning in spending and putting fewer discretionary items in their carts. Advanced Auto Parts and O'Reilly Automotive both noted low to middle income customers were feeling pressure, leading some car and truck owners to cut back on non-essential repairs. Yeah, people can't afford it. Discount retailer Dollar General said it's getting more business from mid-tier households looking for value. Let's jump down. It says more Americans are turning to generic brands and stretching out perishable goods as economic concerns creep up the income ladder. Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta President Raphael Bostic said, folks that are low and moderate income, they don't have any extra money anymore. Bostic told an audience at a recent town hall meeting in Red Bay, Alabama, located halfway between Birmingham, Alabama and Memphis, Tennessee. Right? And and see if there's any more we want to take from it. Right. It almost feels like you have no control over what's happening right now, she said, adding that she's trading down anywhere so she can save to save money. See? So people are going through it, man. All right, so you get that. So but again, this all ties into the collapse of what happened in ancient Rome, which is happening here. And I want to go back and reference that point. Okay. In this article that I bring out often, what were the economic problems in the Roman Empire? And I just want to read these 2 points. All right. So right here in the impact of hyperinflation, it says, as a result of currency debasement, hyperinflation took hold, prices soared, and the purchasing power of Roman citizens diminished. Soldiers who were paid in denarii demanded higher wages to compensate for the reduced value of their salaries. This escalation in costs added more pressure on the Roman treasury, creating a vicious cycle that was difficult to break, right? High taxes and bureaucratic costs. It says soaring taxes and administrative expenses. To cope with the mounting cost of running the empire, Roman authorities resorted to increasing taxes. All right, this is what we're seeing with these damn tariffs right now. High taxes placed a heavy burden on Roman citizens, leading to financial distress and reduced economic activity. As the empire expanded, the cost of administration and logistics also grew, necessitating more resources to maintain the vast territories under Roman control. It says the bureaucratic system in the Roman Empire became increasingly insufficient and corrupt. See? As we see now. Emperors focusing on personal survival often ignore governance practices, leading to mismanagement and further exacerbating economic challenges. The Roman Empire rotted from the top. Its government becoming less and less efficient. It did not face serious competition and for a long time could win any conflict. But decay continued, as we read in Isaiah 14. All right, the worms covered it. And it became harder and harder to deploy resources to deal with a problem. All right, so real quick, let's go to Revelation chapter 6. All right, this is Revelation chapter 6 and verse 6. And it reads, it says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, and measure of wheat for a penny, and for 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and wine. So pretty much, all right, a measure of wheat for a penny going back to a day's wages for work. Okay, so before the currency was debased and devalued, the which is called the denarion, before it was devalued, okay, a day's wages would be able to suffice. All right, a day's wages would be able to support, your living. Okay, and it's the same thing now. Now the dollar, what people work for and go to work and receive checks for, it doesn't suffice. It doesn't cover, your daily expenses, and that's what's happening now, man, because of the devaluing of the money, right? So now the same things that the Romans did to their currency is the same thing that America did with the dollar. All right, going back into the hyperinflation. This is why, everything is so expensive. Okay, this is why people cannot afford, to live right now, man. Okay, so it's the same things that happened back then. It's the same things that are happening now. Is the point. That's why I wanted to go back and read, this part dealing with the currency debasement and inflation, and the effects of what of the soaring taxes and the hyperinflation and what it's doing to the people now. Okay, and all of this stuff is, as we're seeing it, is leading to more internal conflicts and civil wars. Right. This is why you got the military, set up on the streets. All right, they're prepared to quell any type of unrest, any type of sedition that may break out. Because the point is, right, let's get this here. All right, as we were pulling this out earlier, there's a labor crisis going on, man. All right, and I was reading a little bit on it. And because of the immigration policies, the deportations, people are not working these jobs, man. Okay, foods, there's crops on farms that are literally rotting away because they have nobody to work to pick the crops. See? Rural America is facing a mounting labor crisis. A shrinking labor pool is already having an impact, and agriculture experts say it's only going to get tougher. All right? And I'll just read a little bit of this. But it says the American labor market is reaching a critical turning point that could tighten labor availability in rural industries and slow growth across the U.S. economy. A new quarterly report by CoBank's Knowledge Exchange warns that demographic shifts and recent policy changes may start impacting businesses as soon as late of 2025. From livestock and crop operations to food processors and rural cooperatives, this labor shortage is becoming especially noticeable in the heart of America's farmland. Many producers are already struggling to fill roles, and challenges expected to intensify in the coming months. You see? Right? This is Isaiah 5 and 16. It says, when I shall send upon them evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction, and I will send to destroy you, and it will increase the famine upon you, and will break your staff of bread. So this is the Lord's judgment, man. Okay, even more famines and food shortages, man. Okay, here's another point from Fortune.com. Rural America is suffering an economic crisis as crop prices plunge. U.S. soybean farmers cannot survive a prolonged trade dispute. All right, so these tariffs are kicking people's asses. All right, these taxes, right? Everything is rising. Everything is becoming even more unaffordable. All right, is the point, right? Which ties into the fall. You see? Let me see. Let's grab Ecclesiastes 9 and 12. It says that for a man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in the evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in the evil time when it falleth suddenly upon them, man. Okay? everything is headed to that disaster. There's no turning back, right? And one more point, all right? This is from Collapse News. It says Trump's America's first foreign policy faces scrutiny as global conflicts escalate. All right, so as they're talking about peace and safety and America first, all right, global conflicts are escalating all around the world, man. And people are waking up. Okay? I just want to get to the point here. So it says, despite pledging to end Biden's war, Trump continues military aid while pressuring Ukraine to cede territory, prolonging conflict without resolution, and rewarding Russian aggression. Trump's unwavering support for Netanyahu, including plans to rebuild Gaza as a U.S.-led Rivera, risks forced displacement, violates international law, and deepens humanitarian crisis, contradicting, quote, America's first disengagement. Deploying troops to Venezuela and backing Juan Guaido revives failed regime change tactics, risking another quagmire while ignoring sanctions relief and trade as non-interventionist alternatives. Tough tariffs and demands for allies pay more signal a focus on countering CCP expansion, and inconsistent retreats from other conflicts suggest lingering globalist entanglements. Trump's dual strategy, arming Ukraine while pushing talks, backing Israel unconditionally, exposes hypocrisy. Right. So they're talking about peace, but at the same time, they're supplying Ukraine, they're backing Israel, those small hats. Okay. So everything about this administration is being exposed as a fraud, man. All right, people are that veil is being lifted off, and people are seeing through the lies. True sovereignty requires full withdrawal, not stalled middle ground policies that drain U.S. resources, man. So, all right, it's a wrap. As President Donald Trump's second term unfolds, as promised, America First foreign policy is under intense scrutiny amid escalating global conflicts and shifting alliances. Because remember, America is being isolated from the other powers, from the other nations, man. Okay? People are turning their backs, man. All right, so the point of all of this, again, is that the fall is there. All right? So there you have it. Shalom to the next one. Shalom.